There's a new article on Patheos.com, or is it Patheos.com, tomato tomato, titled Consciousness After Brain Death. So the article is new, seems to be listed under Mormon, I don't know why, but the material is not new because it is essentially some excerpts from a Sam Parnia book called Erasing Death, which is a good book that came out back in 2013. So while the content isn't new, it's always nice to see magazines and media publications that bringing up the topic about life after death, consciousness, and things like that. So the way I see it is very, very slowly, like mainstream science and medicine has to catch up to what people involved in spiritual practices, out-of-body experiences, and things like that already know about and have known about for centuries. But there's like this very slow process of connecting the dots, and I think it's sped up lately. It's definitely more prevalent in 2018 than when I was a kid back in like 1998. So basically, this article includes some snippets from the book, some passages that the author wanted to highlight and begin a discussion about. And in this case, Parnia is talking about there's two possible methodologies of consciousness. One is the down-up phenomenon, and the other is the top-down phenomenon. So down-up is the idea that consciousness is an epiphenomenon of the brain, and this is the mainstream viewpoint that probably a majority of people in the scientific pursuits will believe in. And the top-down-up means that somehow all these neurons and things got together using DNA as this kind of rough code about how to construct themselves, eventually creating a brain. And that brain has to survive, so it creates these neurons to detect things and to help the organism detect senses and all that kind of stuff. And somehow at some point there's this perfect mixture of molecular function and basically biological computerized function that eventually all this is put together, and somehow, nobody knows how, it's what they call it, the hard problem of consciousness, somehow it makes a person into a person. Makes a person into a living, thinking, person with personality and the ability to make YouTube videos and to be able to argue on the internet, all of the famous things that humans are known to be able to do. And that is the mainstream opinion. And then the other theory is the top-down approach that considers consciousness, psyche, and the soul to be a separate entity that, while undiscovered by science today, is not produced by brain cells and can itself independently modulate brain activity. Basically, Parnia in these snippets talks about essentially phenomenon like near-death experiences and all the stuff we talk about like here on this channel or elsewhere. They can't really be explained unless you're doing the top-down approach. So the bottom-up approach just doesn't fit the data. He asks, does the brain resemble the hard drive on a computer which actually stores memories in itself, or is it more like the RAM, which, though required to perform tasks and functions, does not store memories in and of itself? If the brain is the hard drive for our memories, how then can memories be generated and stored when the brain is not functioning and there is no electrical activity? On the other hand, if the brain is more like RAM in a computer, does that mean that memories can be stored in our consciousness, psyche, or soul, even in the absence of brain function? And is this maybe what is happening during an actual death experience? And indeed, so how do people without electrical activity in their brains able to return memories? Well, it's the same way that you can return memories in astral projection states. So the memories are being acquired in this alternate spectrum, and then it's the brain's job to basically take that new information and cram it into the brain. So sometimes that's why the memories are not completely perfect. That's why sometimes we have out-of-body experiences and we come back and the memories are a bit choppy, because basically it's like you're attempting to upgrade the brain with information coming in from an outside location. It's like you're injecting the brain full of all this new data, and sometimes the data comes, it enters the hard drive perfectly. sometimes the data gets corrupted. Sometimes there's a lag, latency. Not all of the data enters the brain, so you have memory gaps. But this is the phenomenon that happens when we obtain memories when we're not inside of our bodies. And that's how people have the memories of near-death states, even when, I'd rather, as Parnia likes to say, actual death states, when there is no electrical activity, when the patient is dead. So, how else can that happen? There may also be an energetic element as well that allows information from that side to come into our bodies. Some of us talk about the silver cord, and I talked about this in the last video in regard to cryogenics. This is a ethereal filament that connects, let's say, this body and the astral body together. You don't truly die until the cord is severed, and so long as there's a cord, that could also be like the plug that is sending information back into the body that you're in now. But science hasn't caught up to silver cords yet. It's still trying to figure out how people can have experiences like these. So the excerpts go on essentially to sort of imply the afterlife. Parnia straddles the line, and I'm really happy Parnia straddles the line, because you have to reach out to the mainstream somehow, and as soon as someone comes along like me, they completely tune us out. Even if we at least can help influence, regular people, right? The scientific community, they're not so easily influenceable. I don't think is that a word? And they need people like Parnia to kind of bridge that chasm. Now, so I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, it's a big topic. Patheos, interesting article. There's 120 comments. The article just came out yesterday. And I'm always reluctant to read the comments and these types of things, because it's gonna be a lot of BS. It's gonna frustrate me. But it is good though to see these types of things, being printed. Even if rather printed online, it's nice for people to talk about these things. It means continual progress. Parnia is, if anyone out there is going to really bridge that gap, it's Parnia. He already did so with the AWARE study. I know there's a second part of the AWARE study that might be underway at the moment. I'm trusting Parnia. I'm perfectly okay with the fact that he, straddles the fence between skeptic and believer, because it's how you have to be in this kind of rigid scientific arena. Alright, this is Cyrus. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button. Help keep this channel going. Definitely would appreciate that. And you can check out the channel description for more. I have more videos like this one that you can check out in the main channel page. Books like Understanding Life After Death, classes twice a week, Afterlife University, all that good stuff. And I will see you all on the next video.